to live stream. I've done some video lessons and they all have worked really well. Just want to make sure that this is all working. So Jersey, if you're out there, is everything working okay? All right, cool. Thanks, Jersey. All right, so yeah, I'd like to welcome everybody out tonight. As you can tell by the title, we're going to be doing some finger picking stuff. And what I want to do is I want to go over the like the intro section of Dust in the Wind, because it's actually a really good. I mean, it sounds cool and it's a fun riff and everything, but I mean, it's actually a really good exercise just for finger picking and stuff. And that's my understanding is that that's what it originally was. Is that he wrote that piece and it was supposed to just be like an exercise, and it ended up becoming a song. So yeah, as usual, there is a link in the description where you can download the tabs so you can follow along with what we're going to be looking at. And so yeah, if everybody wants to go ahead and do that. And in the meantime, who I got out there tonight, I got my regular Jersey, but I got any more of my my regulars out there? Anybody new? And if so, where are you tuning in from? I am in Utah personally, and today's been the first day for a while where it hasn't been just uncomfortably hot. Hello, Rick. Thanks for joining us. Yeah, and if y'all like what I'm doing, if you like these live streams and stuff, then show me some love. Hit that thumbs up button. If you haven't already done so, subscribe to the channel. All that stuff helps with that whole YouTube algorithm stuff, and it also helps them to know that I'm doing a good job and I keep doing this for you. So there will be some changes coming to this here in the near future. I finally have a computer that theoretically is supposed to be powerful enough to run this stuff that they want to do. So anyhow, I'm going to be trying to get that all figured out this week, and hopefully in the next week or two, I'll have some kind of a whole new platform for you. All right. So if you have your transcription in front of you, there's actually a spot on it where I forgot to do something, and of course I didn't realize it until now. But if you look on the very first measure, it shows up at the top that it's like you're starting with a C. Well, if you look at all the measures, you can see that it's a half measure long of each chord. Well, in this one, it appears that the whole measure is C, when in actuality, halfway through, it should be a C major 7. So if you right there where that first 0 on the B string is showing the B string is open and that you're playing the 3rd fret on the A string, right there, that should, at top of that should say C major 7. Anyway, it doesn't. My bad. Sorry about that. Okay, so all we're going to be doing is a variation on C and A minor. So we're going to be doing C, we're going to be doing C add 9, C major 7, and then A minor, A suspended 2, and A suspended 4. So all that is we're just changing one of the higher notes in the chord, and it's creating like a little melody line. So it's actually pretty simple to do. If you can play C and A minor, then as far as what you're doing with your fretting hand, isn't a big deal. Now, if you're new to the whole finger picking thing and you haven't, you've never done anything with finger picking before, yeah, then definitely this is going to be a little challenging. But hopefully it can kind of get you started on it. You can also head on over to onto guitarcontrol.com, and there's a section called dollar courses, and there's a course on there that I did that's just an introduction to finger picking that goes over the whole technique and everything and stuff, and it's only $1, so that's also an option. Hello, Daniel. How's it going? All right, so let's just kind of look through, look at the chords themselves just to kind of get an idea. And then when we get actually into it, I'll go over a little bit of basic, fundamentals for the finger picking for the beginners. So the first chord that we have is C. So it's just your regular open position, C chord, 3rd fret of the A string, 2nd fret of the D string, 1st fret of the B string. And then we've got C major 7. So to make C major 7, all you have to do is just lift your first finger off, so that way that the B string is open. Everything else is going to stay the same. And then C add 9. So for that, you just take your pinky and you put it down on the 2nd fret, or excuse me, the 3rd fret of the 2nd string of your B string. And that's C add 9. So we're going to be doing C major 7, C add 9. And then we're going to be doing a very similar thing, but with A minor. So A minor from C, you just take your 3rd finger and just move it so it's on the 2nd fret of the A string. Now we've got A minor, and then if you take your first finger off so the B string's open, that's A suspended 2, and then pinky on the 3rd fret of the B string, just like we did on C, and that's A suspended 4. So we've got like this little melody that's being played between those 3 notes, and then going back and forth between the 2 chords. So that's part of what makes it sound the way that it does. And then the other thing is that it's got a very distinct picking pattern that my right hand doesn't like to do. So sometimes I'll do it, and it always still sounds like the song. Like I've talked about that before with songs where you're strumming and stuff, that you can vary a little bit in that rhythm, and it can still sound good and everything. But if with this finger picking thing, like I'll start playing the wrong pattern, it's still recognizable enough, but I can still hear that something's not right. It's just kind of a strange strange picking pattern. All right, so hopefully everybody has had a chance to download the tabs, and if you're just tuning in, there's a link in the description where you can download the tabs for this. Hello, Crit. All right, and if you like what I'm doing here, hit that thumbs up button. So show me some love, and most importantly, show Guitar Control that I'm doing a good job for you, and they'll keep me around. All right, so we're going to start off with the C major chord. So for what we're going to be playing here, at least for when we're playing with C, well, actually all of it, we're going to be your thumb. So now we're talking about your picking hand. So, if you're right-handed, your right hand. So your thumb is going to be playing the A string. Your first finger will be playing the D string. Your second finger will be playing the G string. And your third finger will be playing the B string. So if you just keep kind of that shape. So if you're a beginner, something that's kind of helpful to do is put all your fingers down on those strings. So basically what it is, I've just got a hold of the 5th through the 2nd string, and both E strings aren't being touched right now. And just kind of get a feel for that, and take your hand away and bring it back until you can just land on those strings. Because that can kind of really help just to set a little bit of a muscle memory as to about where you're at, so you're not accidentally, switching down to like the 6th string or something. Now, and if you haven't done finger picking before, or you haven't had a lot of experience with it anyway, that's probably going to happen anyway. Your hand's just going to shift around. So that's that's what practice is for, right? All right. All right. So the first thing we're going to do is we're going to pick the A string and the B string simultaneously. So my thumb's playing the A string and my third finger is playing the B string. Now you don't want to grab them and like pull back like that. If you watch when I'm playing, my fingers are doing all the work. My hand is kind of just staying in place. So you want to, if you're playing this on an acoustic guitar right now, you're going to want to take it. You want to have the crook of your arm right here, so it's resting about halfway through this bout on the body. So it's kind of the same position that if you've watched any of my other lessons, you've probably heard me talk about this a million times about, you're holding your guitar pick and you're just past the first string, and then you're doing the work with your wrist. Well, since we're playing with our fingers, we're not using a pick, we still get into that same position. So this is the important thing here. As you can see, this part of my arm is straight. I'm not doing this. So if you've got it to where your wrist is all bent like this, and you got this giant gap here, that's not a good position to be in. You want to have it so your arm's kind of straight, so it can just kind of rest and let your fingers do the work. So when I do that pluck, all I'm doing is I'm pushing down with my thumb at the same time that I'm pulling back with my third finger. Whoops, wrong string. Strings. Like that. See, if I'm still keeping my hand in that same position. Let's see here. All right, so we hit that, and it's an eighth note. So this is like the downbeat of one. And then for the end of one, we've got two 16th notes. So what we're going to do is we're going to play the B and the A string together, and then the D string, and then the G string. So we're going to break this strum down into a couple of chunks, so that way it makes it a little bit easier to digest. Even if you're experienced with finger picking, like I've been playing fingerstyle for a long time, and this picking pattern still kind of throws me for a loop. It is just so not how I naturally want to play. So we're going to go A and B together, and then D, G, then A, then B. So this is an eighth note, and then the rest of these are 16th notes. A and B together, D, G, A, B, D, G. So if for any of you that know the PIMA, P-I-M-A, it's just a little, I'm not going to get into all of what it is, but so for finger patterns, the picking pattern part of it, it's helpful to have this because then you can identify which finger should be doing what. So your thumb is P, your first finger is I, your middle finger is M, and your third finger is A. P-I-M-A. So we're going to go P-A together, I-M, P-A, I-M. P-N-A, I-M, P-A, I-M. So this is an eighth note, and then the rest are 16th notes. So where you do the two together, that rings out twice as long as anything else does. Okay, now this is where I said there was the typo on your transcription, that right here, it should say at the top C major 7, but I just missed it. So what we're going to do is we're just going to remove our first finger, and now we're going to do that same exact picking pattern again. So P and A, I, M, P, A, I, M. So that's our first measure. So it's like I said, getting it up to speed with that particular timing and everything. It's challenging. For me, it is. I've had students before that I've showed this to, and they didn't think that it was a big deal whatsoever, and it's not. I'm maybe overemphasizing on that. For me personally, this has been one of the ones that's been a little bit more challenging. All right, so before we move on, just simply due to the nature of what this is, there could be, we've got stuff with the finger picking part of it and doing these different, suspended chords and things. So does anybody have any questions about what we've looked at thus far on this? Or does anybody just have any questions in general? Because as usual, this is a, just a Q&A too. Well, Jersey, can you play a C major chord? If you can do that, and then put your fingers on, like I said, and just thumb and third, first, second, first, third, first, second. And just work on just that much of it, even if you don't do anything else for, a little while. Just practice that and see if you can get it. Yeah, well, that's what I'm saying is just take it slow. When you add in, start working with fingerstyle in a way, sometimes it can feel almost like you're starting over because now you have another hand, that you're trying to get to do these individual things at the same time that you have another hand doing individual things, different individual things. So it can be a little bit overwhelming at first. All right. So, like I said, that is, hold on a second here. I'm trying to move the page a little bit so I can still see everything. Hello, butterfly effect. How do you count the beat? Okay. So when, oh, hi, Oscar. All right, so we'll just count that first measure because, like I said, it keeps replicating this same thing throughout the rest of it. So once you can count the first measure, the other ones are going to be the same thing. So you've got this on the downbeat of 1, and then on the end of 1 we have 2 16th notes. So we've 1 and that's how I would do it. 1 and hello, Rick. Yeah, see, you sound exactly like me. That was the same thing. I learned how to play it probably 30 years ago, at least. Well, more than 30 years ago. And it's still one of the ones I struggle with. Okay. So yeah, so we've got 1 E and then when we go here, this is 2 E and then when we switch to the C major 7, now we're going to do that same thing again, except it'll be 3 E and 4 E and so I kind of have a little bit more of an accent on where those notes that ring out longer. Okay. Anyway, I hope butterfly effect, does that answer your question as far as how to count it? So like here, if you look at it, you can see that like the first grouping, it's 3 notes and then 4 and then 3 and then 4. So each one of those groupings is a beat. So that 1 E and 2 E and a 3 E and 3 E and 4 E and a. Okay, good, great. Okay, so again, that's our first measure. So now going on to our second measure, we're gonna do C add 9. So now we're gonna still, our second and third finger are just gonna stay planted where they are. And what we're gonna do is bring our pinky up here onto the 3rd fret of the B string. Now we're gonna play the exact same timing that we already did. In fact, the timing, if we really want to break it down even smaller, when we change chords, that's actually just where it starts over again. So like the first 2 beats of the first measure, that pattern is the pattern throughout the whole thing. That right there. And then we switch chords to do the same thing. Now we're gonna do the C add 9, do the same thing. Back to C. So that's our first 2 measures, and that all completely deals with the shape surrounding C major 7, and C add 9. And then the next one is when we go to the A's, the A suspended 2, A suspended 4, and A minor. So that's our first 2 measures. All right, so before we switch off from the C, is anybody having any problems with this? Being able to, just get it to sound right, or with the timing, or anything like that? Or does anybody just have any, just guitar questions in general? Because like I said, this is, our typical, Q&A. Because we're gonna have plenty of time. I mean, we're already. We've only gone over 2 measures, but we're already somewhat kind of like halfway through, so to say. So we have plenty of time. Can you go over the right fingers to use? For which hand? Oh, okay. So for this hand, so I know, Crit, that you did the dollar finger picking course. So I'm not sure how far you've gone with it, but thumb is P, I, M, A. Hello, Opa. Welcome, Cottonwood, Texas. So with this, you're going to be only playing on just the center string. So you're not playing either E string. So your thumb is on the A string. Your first finger is on the D string. Your second finger is on the G string, and your third finger is on the B string. So it's going to be that. So that's P, I, M, A, right? So P and A, I, M, P, A, I, M. So if you work on just that much of it right there, so I'm talking to you too on this jersey. If you just put your fingers on for a C and just play this, and just practice that. P-N-A-I-M-P-A-I-N. Oh, okay, great, great. All right, so yeah, so I guess we can move along. So now we're going to switch to the A based ones. So coming from C, all we have to do is take our third finger and move it from the third fret of the A string, so it's on the second fret of the D string. So it should be right, or excuse me, on the G string. So it should be right up above your second finger. So that's A minor. But we're starting with A suspended 2. So we're going to remove our first finger. Or actually, we're starting with C add 9. My bad. Oh, sorry. I'm looking at the wrong place on the screen. I got myself lost for a second. Okay, yeah, we're on the third measure. So we're starting with A suspended 2. So the B string will be open. And we're going to do that same pattern. And then we're going to go to A suspended 4. So we're going to take our pinky and put it down onto the third fret of the B string. And just like we did when we did C add 9. The only difference is that our bass note, instead of being C, is now A. Well, all right, let's try that again. Man, A suspended 2, so same picking pattern. Now A suspended 4, so we put our pinky down, third fret, B string, same picking pattern. So that third measure. Then A minor. So now we take our pinky off, put our first finger down, first fret of the B string. Back to A suspended 2, so we just take our first finger off. Now we're going to go back into the C shape. So it's like 2 measures of C, 2 measures of A, 2 measures of C, 2 measures of A, and then the ending of it. So like it actually plays through all of this twice, and then it goes into like, you know, like part where like the vocals and everything come in. All right, so let's just look at those 2 measures again, measures 3 and 4. And then C add 9. So this is probably as far as what you're doing with your left hand or your fretting hand. Is probably the most complicated part of the whole thing, is that we're going from A suspended 2 back to C add 9. So we have to move our third finger to the third fret of the A string and drop our pinky onto the third fret of the B string at the same time to be able to make that change. So, did it, except I had their little 7th chord action happening there. So yeah, that transition might be something that you have to practice, you know, separately, you know, just on its own to kind of get it down. So we measure 5 or C add 9, C major 7, so we take our first finger off, C add 9, A minor, A suspended 2, A suspended 4, A minor. Hello, Paul. Welcome. Oh, better late than never. And something weird too. I don't know why, but I scheduled this like a long time ago, and it never alerted anybody or even posted anything about it till 30 minutes before it started. So it's just some kind of a glitch with YouTube, I guess. All right, so at the very end of that last measure, your A minor, then we're just gonna play the B and the A string together, and this is on the downbeat of 4. So like 4, and then on the end of 4, you put down your pinky like you're doing, on the 3rd fret of the B string, and your second finger onto the 2nd fret of the A string. So that's like 4 and then it would just, you go back to the beginning. But those are the little notes that lead up to where it goes into the vocal part of the song, which we're not going to be going over that part of it today anyway. So anyhow, you get to the end of that. And then you just start back up to the beginning. And I should have cut my fingernails before I got on here. Yeah, it would just go back and repeat the whole thing. So it's a total of 8 measures long, and then you double that. That's the intro to the song. So the one thing with it, you'll notice that, I mean, it's that same pattern, but the chords, the order of the chords changes and stuff, which creates that little melody, because the melody is all it it changes. So even though you're just doing those same chords, it's like kind of hard to memorize, where the changes, the way that it flows. And that's one of the problems that I've had with it. And then I told you also the picking pattern changing, me changing it inadvertently. But that being said, there's a lot of room in here to change the whole thing up. So I really recommend that you learn how to play it the way that it's supposed to be. But then you can take the same idea and just kind of mess around with it. Don't do it necessarily in the same order, and change the picking pattern. And maybe you're something like that, which is a little easier because everything's just going in the same sequence. But it can give you a variety of ways that you can practice this technique without having to, memorize a bunch of different stuff or have, a bunch of different exercises. Just basically, you're just going off of those chords: C major 7 and C add 9, and A minor, A suspended 2, and A suspended 4. So you could do lots of different things within that. That's going to give you practice, and I don't know, maybe you'll come up with something really cool too. I don't know. All right, so those are basically that's all the parts to it. I really recommend. I mean, I'm sure there's probably a lot of you that are you just go to play it right away, and you're like going, "Why is this guy going on and on about this? Isn't that tough?" And I don't think it's that tough, but trying to talk to the beginners, everybody at the same time. So I would take just that first 2 beats, just that much of it right there. A and B together. D, G, A, B, D, G. And just work on that until you can just work on it like that over and over and over again. And I know that it can get boring or get monotonous, and person in the other rooms and they're like, you know, ready to scream because they've heard you play the same, half a dozen notes over and over and over again. Thank you, Paul. I really appreciate that. But yeah, if you work with that much of it, to really kind of get that pattern down, then the rest of it's actually fairly easy. You can just sight read through it. Just make sure you put that little correction on halfway through measure 1 where it should say C major 7. Oh, thank you, Jersey. I appreciate it. Yeah, so I guess we got a little bit of time that we could kind of look a little bit here at our picking hand. So like I said earlier, you want to have your arm resting on that bout. And what it does, it also kind of puts it so your hand is right kind of straight over the top of the sound hole, because that's kind of the sweet spot for tone. You get down here, more bassy. Up here, it can get a little twangy, but right here is kind of that sweet spot. And then it keeps your arm just kind of in the same position it would be in if you're playing with a pick. That's like a really important thing that I think gets overlooked a lot when people are learning how to play, is that if you can be consistent where you're always doing it the same way no matter what it is that you're trying to play. Now, I mean, within reason, there's going to be, there's an exception to every rule, right? So there could be situations where it's not going to be that cut and dry, but for most things it is. I mean, if I'm playing with a pick, I'm right here, and if I go to play with fingerstyle, I'm still right here in that same position. Keep your arms straight and let your fingers do the work. You don't want, you're pulling away with your wrist like this. You want it to be that your fingers are doing the work. Now, also, if you see, I'm kind of I suck at geometry, so I'm not going to even begin to try to guess what angle this is, but you don't want to be straight down like this. And now this is in my opinion. I have seen a lot of people, especially like Spanish guitar players, that come more like that. But the reason I like to come this way is so that way when I'm going across the string, it's at an angle. If you are straight on, your finger can get kind of more caught. And this way it gives a little less resistance, so everything can kind of be a little, smoother, a little more flow. I was riding around on a 74 Suzuki 195 street trail bike when this song was so popular. Nice. So it's like a Suzuki 185 Enduro. Some of those old motorcycles like now are like worth a whole bunch of money. It's crazy. It seems like people are crazier now about buying old things than ever. Anyway, I hope that this and what I was just talking about with the technique, the finger picking technique itself. I hope that is helpful. I hope that it. Yeah, people are out of their minds. Yeah, I just hope it was helpful and that you got something out of this. So we still have some time left. Anybody have any questions or anything? We got time. I totally dig the whole chat thing. So if there's any guitar stuff you want to ask or or whatever, let's just keep it light. Don't want to get into discussions about politics and crap like that. But guitar stuff, it's all good, man. And if you are just joining us, everything that went over, there's tabs for it, and there's a link in the description where you can download those. And this, after it's over, it'll be you can replay it as a rerun, so you'll be able to follow along with the tabs and everything then. So if you're digging what I'm doing and stuff, show me some love, hit that thumbs up button. Oh, thank you, Rick. I appreciate it. Oh, thank you, Crit. Oh, thank you, Opa. Wow, great. Thank you. Are your bosses happy with the channel? Well, we'll see. Like I said, it's the whole thing has just been somewhat kind of in limbo because of it's all been technical issues and stuff. Uh, the computer I had wasn't powerful enough to run all of these different things, and I've got something that's supposed to be powerful enough, so I'm in the process of trying to learn how to do all of it. And you can't teach an old dog new tricks. Yeah, right here. This song, the theme song of a Henry Winkler war movie when he comes back from Vietnam. I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, it very well could be. I have a very distinct memory of the first time I heard this song. Yeah, we have an idea here. Make it work. Yeah, more or less. More or less. Uh, yeah, the first time I heard this song when I was a kid, there was this guy that lived in the house right next door to us. This guy named Jim, and my mom and dad used to call him a hippie. He had like a van, like an old Chevy van, and it had like a mural on the side of it. It had like a Molly Hatchet record cover or something on the side of it, and he looked kind of like how I do now, had long hair, and he had a beard and stuff, and um, he had this really cool stereo. So he like turned his garage into like a little kind of like a little cool, like chill room, and he had this really big, back then everything was all big, so it was this gigantic speakers in there, and he was playing that song, and you could hear it at our house. And I just remember hearing it and thinking that I really liked it. It was the guitar thing on it that I really liked the way it sounded. That's part of the criteria. But like I said, and everything. All right. So does anybody else have any questions or anything? Hi, Freedom. Neighbor was Curtis. This guy's name was Jim. Pretty sure his name was Jim. It was one of those houses that there was never the same people living in it for very long. It was like probably a rental, and so some people would come, they'd be there for a couple of months, and some people would be there for 2 or 3 years, and then they always left. It seemed like nobody ever stayed there for a long time. Jersey, no, I do have not have any ideas for next week. I mean, it all kind of depends on if I can get everything operating and stuff. If not, it'll be something similar to this. If I get everything going, then it'll be something else. And I know I'm being super vague, but I just don't want to talk about it a whole lot. I feel like that it was a huge mistake to have talked about it at the beginning when we're like, oh, we're doing all this stuff, and then nothing worked. Nothing worked. All right. Well, if nobody has any questions or anything, then we can wrap this up. But I do appreciate you all coming out. Uh, somebody saying something a minute ago about the amount of viewers and stuff. Sometimes I feel like I need to put a piece of tape on the over where it shows how many people are viewing, because it like if it drops down, I start getting anxiety and stuff, and it just doesn't matter. But uh, yeah, want everything to grow and to become more of a thing. But I appreciate you guys that are here. I know there's a lot of you that are here every week, and I really really appreciate it. Uh, my nieces and nephews, right? Go find a 12-year-old to show you how it works. Yeah, no crap. It's funny is that when I was in the seventh grade, we got our very first VCR in my household, and it was a Beta. It was a Betamax, and my parents were all excited because we'll be able to record a TV show. Well, them trying to get them to learn how to set the timer, the automatic timer to record something. You'd have thought that I was teaching them how to defuse a bomb. I mean, it was just really complicated. And I remember sitting there thinking, "Oh my God, I can't believe this. How can you be this dumb?" You know, typical kid. And now I'm like, I'm there. I'm there. So you're right. I do need to find a 12-year-old to to show me how to do it. When improvising with chords and lead finger style, do you recommend triads? Um, well, not like exclusively, but yeah, they are really cool. I've actually been working on this thing that's kind of a country, like kind of a country banjo roll thing, and it's just a first inversion major triad, but you go from the minor third, you hammer into the major third. So yeah, for if that's what you're referring to, but using chordal tones to like create a melody, like to improvise within. I use them a lot, mostly because it's usually just easier to grab, and you always have a finger or two left over that you can do other stuff with it. Oh, carry on, my wayward son. Yeah, that that song is weird. It's got some. I think I did a video where I did the. Something like that. I can't remember how to play it, but anyhow, it was kind of tricky, and then there's just lots of parts in it that are just weird. Weird. Kansas is a very good band. All right. Well, again, I appreciate everybody coming out. It, one of these days, hopefully, it'll get to be, something bigger than it is, but I don't know. We'll have to see. But I do appreciate y'all coming out, and stay cool out there. It's hot. It's been actually nice here today. Well, not nice, but like not 105. Uh, but yeah, I will be here next week. And like I said, if you like what I'm doing, hit the thumbs up. You know, uh, Download the tab so you having to go with this. Subscribe to the channel. All that stuff helps that YouTube algorithm thing, and then shows them I'm doing a good job and everything. I practice some blues runs now. For some reason, I can't get back to my classical rooted style. I'm depressed about it. Maybe what you might want to do is, so I'm assuming you're meaning like classical guitar stuff, and you started doing like a blues thing or whatever. I would just take the classical thing, take something that's like uh, not super challenging, but has a very recognizable melody. And then you can sit there and work on that and then just kind of start playing up. You can balance between the two things, but I kind of know what you mean. I've had like a similar experience. Oh, Well, that's wonderful. I guess it froze. Oh, anyway, I don't know if anybody can hear me, but I appreciate y'all being here. Hope everybody has a great week. Thanks for coming out, and I will see you next week.